Hey everyone, I'm checking in a little bit early just to get you ready. Today's all about happiness, and so I can't wait just to get into that with you. At any rate, I hope that for those who are joining, that you remember to bring a notepad and a pen and to surround yourself with things that are very special to you, that give you a lot of love, okay? So if you have any questions, now's the time you can ask them. We still have a few minutes before we start, and I can kind of look to see who's on and welcome you, of course, and also see whether or not if I can answer any questions for you. Hey, Konami. Glad you joined in. Miss you. We're in the same city now, so we got to connect some kind of way. Hope you've been getting some gardening in there. I need some gardening tips. We're going to start next week growing some good stuff. Yeah. Any questions that you have today you want me to focus on? I'm focusing on love today, continuously. This is our 30 minutes a day self-love boot camp challenge. And so each day we have something special that we focus on. And each week we have a special theme. And so this week, of course, the theme is looking at self-love from the inside out. All right, so that's going to be fun to do that. So I've got quite a few things sitting around me today that always make me feel good. I always add new things whenever I come on. But, you know, I'm looking at this, and Konami, you could probably relate to this with your granddaughters as well. But I got this beautiful picture here from Phoenix the other day. I just wanted to kind of show it off. It's sharing a lot of love, but, you know, we've still been talking about springtime and the fact that we're in between spring and the summer solstice. And so just looking at the growth, right? Just feeling like it's beautiful colors along with some fabulous growth. And that's what we're looking to do as a collective body as we chat. So thank you, P, for that beautiful gift. And I think I probably shared this gift. This gift was from Carly Tartikoff. Some of you might know Carly, but we go way back. In fact, every third Friday, we all have Zoom games that we play. So right after this, I'm going to be playing some Zoom games with friends from all over the country. But this says the woman who challenges herself to invent herself daily displays sublime creativity. And I read this yesterday, but I didn't read who the author is. And the author is Maya Angelou. Are you surprised? I'm not. Love that woman. Yes, and her spirit. And then I'm just kind of looking at some other couple of things. You know, I can't do these things without Mom being in my picture there. So there she is with her fabulous self, and she's always with me, and so just blessed to have her on my table today. Yeah. And then what else? I'm just going to stay online. I know I have a couple of minutes and people will be joining, but I just wanted to stay on to make sure I could welcome people as they come. Whoa, Dafina, you're here, my sister. All right, so hey, two of my best friends are on. Okay, so that's Dafina and Konami. Thank you, you two, for joining me. I love you all so much. These are women that I'm hoping we're going to figure out starting next week just how I can kind of interview and split the screen, because there are a lot of kinds of questions that I'm sure are coming in from the younger generation for a lot of things that I've raised. And I definitely need my wise woman circle to be there with me so that we can kind of ascertain that. We did say we were going to save Q&A rather than for tonight. We're going to save that for Sunday. So we would have gone through a full week of looking at all kinds of things. We've been discovering the fact that, as human beings, we are made of the energy that the same energy that the earth is made of, and the same energy that the universe is made of. We're all connected. We are all connected. And somehow we've lost that information, and we're just trying to recapture that so we can, in fact, be at our very best. There's such a calling right now for women of the world. We are the matriarchs of the world, and we have a sense of responsibility to it. And so I'm simply, again, trying to do this 30-day challenge to get us back on track. We're strong women, but we shouldn't have to deplete that energy. We should be gaining more energy, and that comes through our knowledge and our knowing, right? Who and what we are. And so this is what this is all about. Okay, so I'm still welcoming folks on. Hey there, I see my niece Tandrea is on. Hey Jay. And I'm trying to see who else is on. We got a few people joining us today. Is that Clark? Is Clark on there? Or is she just sending some love? I send you some love too. Congratulations, that's my niece who just graduated from university. Okay, she was only about this high, like to me, like a few years ago. But okay, she just graduated from college, so we're all happy about that as well. All right, so we have a couple minutes and then we're going to start. I'm going to pick up from yesterday. We kind of left off yesterday, again, doing a recap of we talked about our 7 chakras, our key energy points. But many of us believe that there are more than just 7 chakras that go beyond the body as well. So even beyond the crown, we still have chakras that are working. And those chakras are energy points that we can tap into for so many different reasons. And today we're going to talk about the heart and happiness and intuition. And how do we begin to believe in our own intuition. A lot of times we say, wow, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Or I had this feeling, or there was something in the back of my head saying something wasn't right. And yet, and still we didn't listen. We went ahead and we did quite the opposite. Now, we do that sometimes. We can go against our intuition. Just know sometimes there are going to be consequences. And sometimes those consequences could last for years. So we got to really trust in ourselves and in who we are. So, okay, I see people coming on. We're actually going to go ahead and get started now. We pulled some blessing cards yesterday. For those who were on, we actually did some chakra readings. And again, I talked about those readings not being, a lot of people, when they think about, tarot cards, and yes, they are used very often for readings, but this is not the case for what I'm attempting to do here. I love the chakra cards because they do tap into all of our different energy points and the colors that match with those. But I think that they, at least for me, they give me an opportunity to think about things. So I may present an intention. I may want to know a little more about, am I going in this right direction? Should I be thinking about something else? And the kinds of things that come up when I do the cards always allow me to think a little more about it. So I don't take them and say, oh no, this is absolutely true. Oh, my life is going to be horrendous, or this is going to happen. Well, these cards aren't like that anyway. They're all positive, and we are about positive energy. But again, I just take them for what they're worth as far as critically thinking about things for myself. And, of course, as a professor and scholar, I'm always about critically thinking about things and not always just accepting things as the way that they are. And so here we are. We talked a little bit about, I held this yesterday, for my crown piece. I want to kind of talk a little bit about stones, but not that much. I'm actually going to have an expert on. I hope that she'll join us in the next couple of weeks to talk about all the different stones and things that you might want to ask about it. But we talked about the body being 70% water. We also talked about the body making up a number of different minerals, the crystalline that we talked about as well. And so stones are very precious, and they're made up of a lot of what we're made up as well. So it's not unordinary to have attraction to stones or to even have them. I carry different stones in my pocket, like the one I showed you yesterday was the rose quartz stone. And this is a stone truly for the heart. It's a very protective stone. And I'm one to have stones all around the home. They often serve for protection. They serve for good health. They serve for creativity. And again, they are very much a part of who we are. So I'm not going to get into it too much. I just really wanted to share it because I did have my crystals book out here, and we are talking about the heart. So this is definitely a heart stone. There are many, but the rose quartz is the one that I truly treasure, and I get so much beautiful energy from as well. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but let's talk about the kind of happiness that I want to talk about. I mean, how many of you, I would hope, in your lives right now, despite the challenges, and this is how this all kind of came about, is really being very concerned with what's going on in the world. And that breaking point was, COVID-19, right? And the idea of having to be isolated, not able to have that physical contact with one another, everything slowing down, whether or not if that's our employment, our children going to school, or, family and friends going to college. All of those things have, almost come to a standstill. And we've made it. And that's because we have a lot of resilience. And I think at times when we're so busy in the world, we don't stop to think about how fortunate we are. And so what I did in the very beginning, but I'm asking everyone to continue this for the 30 days, is to have that journal, to put the date on that journal each time you make an entry, and always write down 10 different reasons why you are grateful for that day. Okay, and what you're going to notice is you're going to notice some different things each day. And you're also going to notice that you have some of those things that you're grateful for, they're constant in your life, right? And so when we see that we have some of the same things at the top repeating all of the time, it's calling to us. It's calling to us in whatever reason. Maybe it might be that we're grateful for having good health, right? And so when we're grateful for having good health, if we want to remain having good health, we need to continue to take care of ourselves. And so when you read down your list and you see what you're grateful for, really put that to heart and put that to mind. And live that lifestyle for what you're grateful for. One of the hardest questions I ask, so that's the easy part, writing down 10 things that we're grateful for every day, right? The hard part came when I asked people to write down 2 reasons why they love themselves, okay? And we got some responses to that. Some of those responses were pretty good. I talked about having tenacity and courage. And one of the things, though, is that we struggle sometimes just to be able to pat ourselves on the back and say, hey, you're doing a really good job. Let me acknowledge that. And we talked about this as well. We talked about the reasons why we don't have that abundance of confidence in who we are. And I'll repeat it again a little bit today. I see a couple of new people that are on. So we talked about coming into this world. Yes, we have predispositions, but pretty much we come in as blank slates, ready to be filled with what the world has to offer. And depending upon where we are and what environment we're in, we're going to be socialized for different things. And through that socialization that comes from our families, and it tells us who and what we are, and that can be a good or bad experience. Then we're in schools, then we're in community, then we're around other people, and then media hits. And media tells us how we have to look, how we have to act, how we have to be. And by the time we've sucked up all of this socialization, then we begin to believe things that aren't necessarily true about who we are. And in fact, what actually happens is that happy-go-lucky child that we see that has no inhibitions grows up to be an adult that usually will have lots of inhibitions because they've internalized the things in which they've been taught to believe about themselves. So we're trying to do a little bit of re-education here. We're trying to claim that love, because without us, we wouldn't be in the world, and we wouldn't be able to give to the world, and the world would not be able to give to us. So I don't think that life's purpose would be fulfilled if we did not acknowledge how much we love ourselves. Okay? So self-love and happiness, the happiness that I'm talking about, it's not a material happiness. Yes, I know material things can make us very happy. We can go on a vacation and stay for 2 weeks and just chill and relax. And that's because we've worked hard, we've saved up a little bit of money, and we're going to treat ourselves to this wonderful vacation, and we're going to have lots of happiness on that vacation, right? Or when we're around our children, or when we're around our grandchildren, you know, sometimes, I don't know, my kids just keep me totally in laughter, okay? And of course we know that laughter is very much a part of happiness, right? And so, you know, I'm just thinking about Phoenix right now. And so I was, you know, lucky enough to be able to get a house very close to my daughter here in the Bay Area. And so my granddaughter can come over. Sometimes I leave the door open for her. Well, I'm cracking up because I'm trying to move a few little things in at a time, right? And I noticed, well, first yesterday came the blanket with a little picnic basket, and there was a little baby, and there was some plates, and we were going to play some games. And then this morning I noticed the baby's high chair got in there, and then I noticed another chair was moved in there, and I have now a couple of little baby dolls in there. And so my grandbaby's moving in on me. But it's funny as heck to see it happen. So I'm not talking about those things that crack us up, make us laugh, and usually it's by the people who we love, right? Or watching some meme, you know, or there's so many different things, you know, comedians and whatever. That laughter that brings us that sense of happiness, right? Or those special ones that we love, our partners who bring us lots of love and happiness. But notice I'm talking about it coming externally, that the love is coming externally. And yes, it's deep in our hearts because these are things that we love, but they're generated from external contact. So I want to talk about the kind of love, you know, we talked about love supreme. We talked about John Coltrane yesterday, which, you know, if you ever want to hear just some beautiful jazz and just what it symbolizes, a love supreme is just a beautiful way of connecting to that self-love. And so love connected to happiness. And do we have that sort of happiness each and every day that we wake up? For many of us, we would say, hey, you know, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes I'm happy. That's life, right? Just like we talked about the other day, you know, there's love and there's hate. There's light, there's dark. So we talk about the opposites, the yin and the yang. If you have that, you live in this world, you're going to have the yin and the yang. But I am talking about, let's take that a step higher. Take it a higher level. And that higher level of happiness that I'm talking about never, ever goes away. It's always with you. And that happiness comes when you know who and what you are and the capabilities that you have. That, you know, no matter who's hating out there on you, it doesn't matter. Because you have that happiness within. You know who you are. And that's what's so important. So who are we again? We are beings that have come into this human form, this human existence, this beautiful planet. And we're living out a dream, perhaps a contract that we made even before we came into the world. Who knows? But yet and still, it's important for us to know a little bit more about ourselves. So know that we have a lot of power, and oftentimes that power is taken away from us. So, you know, this is being hosted by the MIDC, which is my company, the Multicultural International Development Company. And we have several components to that. And this particular component is called the MIDC We Network. We meaning women empowerment. And I was really driven to add that as a component to my company because women, even though I know there might be men on the call, and you're always welcome to learn because we are partners in this world, to learn a little more about what we're trying to discover about ourselves. So for those of you who, you know, have a sense of knowing, especially as it relates to cross cultures, cultures around the world, you're going to know that this world was once considered a matriarchal society. So within all of the different societies around the world, women were ruling the earth. Okay? And let me explain to you what I mean by a matriarchal society. I'll talk to it from an indigenous perspective. So when I talk about different First Nation groups, in many cases and for many, many centuries and probably thousands of years, women were revered as the wise women. They knew the healing. Their intuitive minds could guide the families very safely through life. And so matriarchal societies within indigenous cultures, the women there would be a male leader, a chief, and this is for other cultures as well. But it was the wise women, the elder women, who generally chose the chief. From the time they were born, they would know who would be the leader within their own particular clans. And then they began to groom them. Okay, so again, women had the power. Yet they had this power, but it was a power not to always have to be out front. And even today we say, you know, you'll hear, our partners, our male partners say, well, she the boss. You know, I take the orders, but she the boss. Okay, some folks, they still kind of get that. All right. So what's being called on us as women right now? I don't know if some of you have been tapping into a lot of the social media where elders are being interviewed from around the world. And they're asking the elders, what should we do? We're in a state that we have people that are carrying a lot of fear, right? False evidence appearing real is what Ralph Smart says. I like that. False evidence appearing real is fear. Okay? So we have a lot of fear going on. We're quarantined because of the COVID-19. There's all kind. We have mass incarceration. I mean, I'm thinking about it as an African American woman, and when I look at my own particular culture, I feel that culture is under attack in so many different ways, right? How did we get there? How did we get there? And so going back again to this idea of women, we're being called by so many of the elders, both men and women around the world, to regain our status as the matriarchs of our society, to go back to some of the things that protected this earth, because we are Mother Earth. You know, think about it, ladies. Think about it. We talked about everything that we are is connected to the various elements. And so we think about the moon and the 28-day cycle, and it's being the same cycle as a woman's cycle. We're connected. We're connected to those tides that have that very same cycle. We are connected so much to the earth that we know the answers on how to make the planet better, on how to make sure that our future generations will have happiness in their lives. You know, we've now shifted to the age of Aquarius. A lot of us have been waiting for that for a long time. You know, I used to sing that song, Age of Aquarius, by the Fifth Dimensions. I know some of you out there might know what I'm talking about, okay? But really, when we talk about the age of Aquarius, we're talking about the age of love and euphoria, because we've been lost for a really, really long time. So yes, we were once matriarchs within our societies, and slowly, very slowly, we became a patriarchal society. And especially here in the United States, we're living in a very patriarchal society. And you yourselves, I don't need to tell you, you know, what that means, right? But as women, we know that we've been put at the back of the bus for that. And what I mean is, you know, let me just give a for instance, throw some stats out there. Why do women make less than men when they have the same jobs, or even, you know, a higher job than that man, and they're getting paid much more money? Why is it that more than, I think probably about 87% of women who are teachers, and you know, educators, they should be getting paid a lot of money, because we educate for each and every one to have different disciplines out in the world, yet and still they get the lowest pay, and they're not appreciated for the education that they bring. And why is that? You have to ask yourself, why is that? Let's talk a little bit about, you know, there have been many Holocausts in the world. I think about the African Holocaust. Having been to Africa, having lived in a number of African countries, and seeing how communal the various cultures are, where they depend upon one another. So right now we're worried about money, when in fact, in many different cultures, the bartering systems is what keeps communities strong, loving, and everybody okay. Everybody looks out for everyone else. So we've moved away from just the practical styles of living that, again, I tie to matriarchal types of awareness and sensitivity. So here we were as African people. We know the story of the Middle Passage, and it's estimated that over 50 million Africans were brought throughout the world. Now, this is the same place I'm talking about, Africa, which is the cradle of civilization. The oldest remaining bones, they're a woman, and it's Lucy. And it's said that we as human beings went out into the world from Africa, so being the cradle of civilization, but yet and still we came to America. Those of us, our ancestors who came to America, they paid heavy, heavy, heavy prices, the men and the women. So much so that we're still carrying post-traumatic slave syndrome today. And as Michelle Alexander talks about, this being the new Jim Crow. So we're dealing with all of these things, these attacks on our particular culture. We can look at other cultures and see the same when we talk about minoritized cultures. Yeah. And we're going through all of that, and what's happening is the love is vanishing. The happiness is vanishing. So we as women, how do we bring that back? And this is what that 30-day is. The 30-day, they say in 21 days you can, cut out any habit that you might have. And that's a good thing. I've added 30 days. I think we need a little bit of extra time for us, okay? And so, happiness. Are you happy? Are you truly happy? Meaning, if everything was gone away and it was just you, would you feel happiness within yourself? The other day, we went all the way back to being an embryo and starting off fresh in a cocoon, that we were able to then metamorphosis, like what Maya Angelou is talking about, that we can reinvent ourselves to be what we want to be. And we have a lot of power to be able to do that. Okay? So when we flew, what were our intentions as we were flying high? What were the things that we wanted to claim back for ourselves? What are the things that we want to do in the world? I know so many of us are feeling distraught because we feel like we don't have the power to address the things that are not good for us on this planet. But I'm saying that we do. We have that through the energy, we have that through our intuition, and we have that through the power of the heart. Okay? And we're going to keep on working on these things and discovering just how to begin to get them on fire and get them, to the point where we're spilling over. We're spewing just all of that we talked about hot lava when we talked about the root chakra, but that's spilling over with power to make change. Okay? So, again, we're talking about happiness today. We want to touch in how can we be happy. The heart is where all of that happiness sits. How do we begin to tap into that? So tonight, I really want you to think about, before you go to sleep tonight, think good thoughts. Think about loving you. Think about what passion is from the heart. What passion is driving you right now to do something in the world. And just know that in order to help others, we have to be strong. We have to love ourselves, right? And so we never end these sessions without calling off our full names. So we're going to call off full name, and then I want you to tell yourself just how much you love yourself. Okay? I'm coming up close. And so I'm going to say my full name. Same time I'm saying my full name, I want you to say your full name and then tell yourself how much you love you. Tell that little baby girl or boy inside how much you love them, because we're starting from the very beginning. We're going to get rid of all of that socialization and come back in tune with who we really are and what we're meant to do in this world. So Karen, Bernadette, Cardoza, McLean, Dade, I love you. Say it again. Your name. Karen, Bernadette, Cardoza, McLean, Dade. Girl, I love you. I love you. I love you for all the things that you do and how you take care of me. One more time. Say it. Say it with conviction. Say it with true belief. Karen, Bernadette, Cardoza, McLean, Dade, I love you. I love you from the bottom of my heart. And for all of those of you who are out there, I love you too. I love you. Thank you so much for joining in. And tomorrow, we're really going to get down to understanding. You may be asking now, well, what is it that I need to do to the heart? What is that little secret place you're talking about that I can generate from the inside? And that can guide me and so many others, and we can change this world together. I love you. Take care until tomorrow. Peace.
Hi, Gigi.
Hey, baby.
All done?
Don't forget to save it, share the story. Okay, so it's doing that same thing.